Because today, for the first time, Donald Trump called Republicans stupid, and he means millions of them. That was his word for Republicans who have been religiously devoted to him, Republicans who think of him as chosen by God. Donald Trump turned on those Republicans today and called them stupid and said the thing that no smart politician has ever said before. Ever. Donald Trump said, "I don't want their support anymore." I have often said on this program and elsewhere that no one insults the intelligence of Trump voters more than Donald Trump. No one thinks less of the intellectual capacity of Trump voters than Donald Trump. And he has always proved that in the way he pathologically lies directly to them about things that they know are not true. Donald Trump has always thought that he can do that to his supporters because he believes that they are not, in Donald Trump's mind, the kind of sharp people that he was trying to deal with in New York in his business career. Now, I have never once been able to predict what could separate the most fervent Trump supporters from Donald Trump, what could possibly get Donald Trump to publicly call them stupid and say, "I don't want their support anymore." They never seemed to mind being lied to about tariffs. Trump supporters never seemed bothered by the nasty intellectual insults he used to hurl at them at his campaign rallies and his speeches when he told them that other countries would pay the Trump tariffs that they were going to have to pay. They never seemed excited about the Trump tariff passages in those speeches, but they were never bothered by Trump's public insults of them based on Trump's belief that not one of his voters knows what a tariff is. That insult didn't bother Trump voters, apparently. No political opponent of Donald Trump has been able to do anything that could separate Donald Trump from Republicans, get Donald Trump to call Republicans stupid and say, "I don't want their support anymore." The only person who could do that is the person who said he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years and who killed himself in prison while awaiting trial on federal charges of sex trafficking. Jeffrey Epstein, the person standing beside Donald Trump in that blue shirt in that video right now. Jeffrey Epstein is the name Donald Trump never wants to hear. But Donald Trump's problem is the Jeffrey Epstein scandal that now surrounds Donald Trump and the Trump administration is very easily understood by reporters and the public and Trump voters, and people are paying attention to the name Donald Trump doesn't want them to ever hear. A new poll shows that 62% of registered voters are closely following the news about the Epstein files. 63% disapprove of Donald Trump's handling of the Epstein files, with 17%, only 17%, approving of Donald Trump, saying there's nothing to see here. No one causes more problems for Donald Trump than Donald Trump. And so Donald Trump's first solution to his Epstein problem was to try to change the subject with new tariff announcements every day or utter absurdities that are very simple and easy to understand that Donald Trump would say if he believed that Republicans' attention could be diverted because, as Donald Trump said today, they are stupid. That's his belief. And on the belief that they are stupid, last week, Donald Trump went back to a long-held target of his, Rosie O'Donnell, saying in a social media post, "I am giving serious consideration to taking away her citizenship." There is no way Donald Trump could take away the citizenship of natural-born citizen Rosie O'Donnell. Donald Trump knows that. But that was Donald Trump's idea of the moment, of how to change the subject from Jeffrey Epstein. It obviously failed spectacularly. But it did provoke a video response from Rosie O'Donnell yesterday from her new residence in Ireland, in which she said, quote, "I'm safe here in Ireland. I'm out of the reach of the Tangerine Mussolini." And I gotta say, as nicknames for Donald Trump go, Tangerine Mussolini is a possible winner, and it certainly gave Rosie O'Donnell the win in her latest exchange with Donald Trump. It will be interesting to see what nicknames the Republicans who Donald Trump called stupid today will come up with to compete with Tangerine Mussolini. Donald Trump failed to distract attention from Donald Trump and his Attorney General's refusal to release the federal investigative files in the Jeffrey Epstein case, or any files in that case. The files that were on the desk of the Attorney General just days ago, according to the Attorney General's public comments. And this morning, the pressure got to Donald Trump. And so he did the worst thing he could possibly do in the middle of a scandal that he was hoping would disappear. He wrote a long social media post about the scandal, about the Epstein files. Donald Trump gave the story much more fuel today, and he kept doing it all day, which is exactly the opposite of what a smart person would do in Donald Trump's position. And once again, Donald Trump distinguished himself as the vulgarian that he is in the presidency by using profanity in his written public posting, and for some reason putting the profane word in quotation marks in that weird way Donald Trump randomly and incorrectly uses quotation marks. And I mention that because if any other president had ever used that word in writing in public or verbally in public, the news media would rightfully explode over the use of that word and the collapse of presidential propriety. But this is the Trump era, and every standard of decency and accountability has been lowered for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump alone. Donald Trump, in his long post this morning, blamed the scandal about the Epstein files, of course, on the Democrats, saying, quote, their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, and my past supporters have brought into this bullcrap, I'll call it, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic. Yes, they have been conned by the lunatic for many years now, but Donald Trump wasn't actually referring to himself when he said that, and it was just my artful edit that let it sound that way for a moment. What he actually said was, even after being conned by the lunatic left. Donald Trump ended that social media rant against Republicans, saying all these people want to talk about, with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems, is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Weaklings. Donald Trump is calling Republicans stupid weaklings. And as of today, he doesn't have the support of the people he calls stupid and weaklings. But it will take some time to know if Trump's loss of their support is permanent. Calling them stupid and weaklings probably won't help Donald Trump.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that? No,
it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net.
And there you have Donald Trump's description of stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans. And he kept going.
Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people.
They're stupid people. He's talking about Republicans. And no, the sad part is not that we're talking about the Epstein files. The sad part was what happened to those little girls when Donald Trump's friend, Jeffrey Epstein, got his hands on them. Michael Flynn served 24 days as Donald Trump's first national security advisor before being fired by Donald Trump and then convicted of federal crimes for which Donald Trump, of course, pardoned him today. Michael Flynn wrote this on social media, addressed directly to Donald Trump. I hesitated to write this, however, with the utmost respect and deference to you for all you've withstood. Few know it better than me, what the deep state can do when they want to turn on a person. The Epstein affair is not about who killed him or if he committed suicide personally. I'm glad this known pedophile is dead, but neither is this a hoax. This issue goes beyond all that. There are millions of Americans who've overwhelmingly voted for you to be our president, and we want you to be massively successful. No one more than me. All we want at this stage is for a modicum of trust to be reestablished between our federal government and the people it is designed to serve. That's all, period, exclamation point. An element that is of great importance surrounding this Epstein affair is the fact this man was a known pedophile, had a list of clients who represented the upper crust of society and likely did untoward things to children on his island, in his homes in New York City and New Mexico, and maybe elsewhere. He was convicted of it. Regardless of what class of society abuses and commits crimes against children, it is never acceptable. This is where this argument went off the rails. It is not about Epstein or the left. It is about committing crimes against children. If there are leaks inside of our country that have committed crimes against children, shame on them. They must be held accountable. A sampling of Trump-supporting media today was not supportive of Donald Trump on the Epstein files. Alex Jones spoke directly and hysterically to Donald Trump on his program.
You have put the gun in your mouth and ours collectively. Stop it. Stop it. Stop. 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 For God's sakes, don't attack your constituents when they have morals and aren't robots.
Media Matters sampled callers to Trump-supporting shows today.
What about justice for these young ladies who were trafficked? What about their justice? Don't they deserve justice?
I think Pam, overpromised, underdelivered.
Jeffrey Epstein killed himself before trial, but his co-defendant and co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, went to trial in 2021. She did not testify. The prosecution called 24 witnesses over 10 days of testimony, including 4 of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's victims. At the time, the Associated Press reported, quote, the first 3 women testified as Jane, Kate, and Carolyn. First names are pseudonyms intended to protect their privacy. The last was Annie Farmer, who took the witness stand using her real name. Jane said she was 14 when she met Maxwell and Epstein at a music camp where Epstein was a benefactor. Maxwell showered her with attention in a way that left her vulnerable the moment she was first instructed to follow Epstein into his pool house in his Palm Beach, Florida estate in 1994, she said. When he began to sexually abuse her, I was frozen in fear, she said. I'd never seen a penis before. Prosecutors wanted evidence that Maxwell was a direct participant. Jane gave it to them by claiming Maxwell and Epstein fondled her together. When a prosecutor asked her why, as the defense pointed out, she didn't initially reveal everything about her experiences with Epstein in initial interviews with law enforcement. She said, fighting back tears because it was too difficult emotionally, too difficult on every level. 14 years old, that's That's what Donald Trump and his attorney general are hiding. 14 years old. The investigative files on a man who Donald Trump said he knew for 15 years, a man who said he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years and who raped that child when she was 14 years old. They are protecting that man in the grave, and who knows who else. Ghislaine Maxwell's attorneys know that their only hope of ever getting her out of prison will probably be a Trump pardon on the final day of the Trump presidency. And today, they released a statement praising Donald Trump. One of Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers said this about Donald Trump: he's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree that when the United States gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, it's especially unfair that Ghislaine Maxwell remains in prison. And to deepen the mysteries that live in and around the Epstein files, new reporting indicates that there was a gap of 3 full minutes on the video recording of the door of Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell on the night that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. The 1-minute gap had been previously reported in that video, but new analysis by Wired indicates the actual gap is a full 3 minutes. That's one of many elements of the case that indicate that there remains much to investigate in this case. It's a case that never went to trial. And so the contents of those investigative files on Jeffrey Epstein were never fully revealed in a courtroom, as they were destined to be if he did not die in his jail cell. And Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee, which has jurisdiction over the Justice Department and the Attorney General, want to conduct that investigation of this case. Here is the top Democrat on that committee, Congressman Jamie Raskin, in yesterday's Judiciary Committee hearing.
There's something that everybody here, at least I used to think, agreed with, which is let's release the Epstein files. That guy is a child sex offender who's convicted of it and then took his life before the larger trial could take place. His associate, Ms. Maxwell, is in jail for 20 years. The whole country is saying, release the files. That's what Donald Trump said. That's what J.D. Vance said. That's what the Attorney General said. That's what the FBI director said. And now suddenly they want to sweep the whole thing under the rug. Why don't we have a real hearing with real government officials talking about the government and talking about a real investigation with the real problem, which is the nationwide crisis in the sexual abuse of children and human trafficking? Why don't we do that? I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Joining us now is Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He's the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Congressman Raskin. What is at stake now in the House of Representatives in the pursuit of truth in this case, in the pursuit of who is being protected and how by Donald Trump and the Attorney General's choices in this case?
Well, there's a stench of corruption and predation and exploitation that hangs over this whole matter, as you were saying. And look, this started a long time ago. If you remember Trump's Secretary of Labor, Alex Acosta, he was actually the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida when this first came up. And the Department of Justice had prepared a 60-count federal prosecution against Epstein for all of the charges of statutory rape, solicitation, running this conspiracy, and on and on. Acosta reduced that to a plea bargain for 1 state count of solicitation. He let him go on 60 counts. This is a guy who should have obviously spent the rest of life in prison for what he had done. They also excused 4 people who were Epstein's aides de camp as part of that plea bargain agreement. And he didn't even have to go to jail during the daytime. He had to spend the night in a special room they had set up for him in the Southern District of Florida. I think it was in Palm Beach. So there's been a double standard from the very beginning. This is about corruption. This is about the wealthy and the powerful being able to manipulate the justice system to get away with their crimes. And so I guess when it was convenient for Donald Trump and for Pam Bondi to raise it and to spread, even greater conspiracy theories about the whole thing, they did it. And the moment they're in office and they've got the opportunity to commit the simple act of turning over the files to the public, that is, after Epstein is dead, after Maxwell is already in federal prison for 20 years, and after a third Confederate also took his own life. So all of those cases are over. Now they're trying to throw up every possible other distraction, like let's get a special prosecutor. For what? Epstein is gone. What other crimes are they talking about? Just release the files to the public. That's what Trump himself has been demanding, and J.D. Vance and everybody else in Trump world. That's what they were asking for. That's why millions of people are upset. Trump says it's like a Democratic plot. No, this has been led by MAGA. It's the MAGA people who are saying it, and we're agreeing with them. Let's clear the air. Let's get the truth and the facts out there and finally put an end to this constant corruption and cover-up.
Yeah, I listened to many more callers to those right-wing talk shows today, and they're so clear on this, and they sound perfectly logical for once, knowing that they've been lied to, and knowing that they've been lied to by Trump world, and that that they've done a 180 on this. That they understand it perfectly. And what I'm wondering about in the larger frame of this is, if they can unlock the mechanics of one very simple pattern of Trump lying on the Epstein files, what happens when they start applying that same logic to tariffs and other issues, Medicaid cuts, things that they have been lied to about? Once that formula becomes available to the thinking of these kinds of voters, what's the limit?
I'm totally with you. The same thought has been running through my mind. I mean, Trump did not campaign on throwing 14 million Americans off of their Medicaid health coverage. And again, that's going to hit a lot of Trump's people as well as a lot of Democrats and independents. But the point is, it's hitting Americans. He didn't campaign on that. He did campaign on releasing these files. He should at least keep that promise. But in a larger sense, we've got to look at what this administration has done with respect to human trafficking and the protection of children. They dismantled 69 different programs, defunding them through the Department of Labor that were meant to combat human trafficking and child labor around the world. They have dismantled all kinds of programs at the Department of Justice, at HHS, and other agencies that were designed to protect people against human trafficking. So we're talking about child sex abuse scandals, not just the Jeffrey Epstein one, but the kind that we've seen at Michigan State, at Ohio State, in the Boy Scouts, in all these churches. All of these things are taking place now, and they're making it much easier for the predators to get away with it. And so, some people would say, well, I'm very upset because I love Donald Trump. Why is he doing this? It's out of character. Others would say, hey, he's an adjudicated sexual predator himself out of New York. What else would you expect to happen? But regardless, their policies are hurting our people, and we've got to turn it around. And let's start by having some truth and clearing the air over this whole Epstein affair as quickly as possible.
Congressman Jamie Raskin, thank you very much for joining us tonight.